Tracy, you ready?
Yes, sir.
I want to welcome everyone. We're going to have a pledge of allegiance to the flag and then we'll start our special meeting. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence to honor the military, firefighters, road workers, and sheriff deputies as they serve our community here and abroad. Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Mann,
Present.
Trustee McLaughlin,
Right.
Trustee McGuire.
This is a emergency meeting addressing payroll items for the township. What is the next resolution number?
483.
483. Okay, for resolution 21-083, adopting pay rates for various employees effective payroll ending 10/23 of 2021. Do I need to read this, everything on this?
It's up to them what, Mike.
Mike.
You and Mike.
Do you want me to read everything on here?
No, I got some questions.
Okay, not there yet.
Huh?
Not there yet.
Not there yet, oh, okay. That's a messed up system. You gotta second it before you can ask questions.
Okay, well, I will make a motion then that we adopt resolution number 21-083.
I'll second it so I can ask questions. Not that I approve it yet, just asking so I can ask questions. So what is the definition of shifted position?
Shifted position, according to what has been operating since Chief Sexton was here, was an individual would sign up for a 24-hour shift every 6th day. And so a $1 bonus is provided to those that dedicate a 24-hour shift every 6th day. And this is used widely across all Dayton area fire departments that have part-time employees because they can't recruit enough or have enough money to have enough full-time people.
Wait, I just need the definition. Okay, so nobody will be grandfathered in
Right.
without the following original shifted case, so like whereas that's down. Whereas no current employee will be grandfathered and continue to receive the shift bonus without following, excuse me, quoted original shifted guidelines and being assigned to a shifted position. What about the original shifted guidelines? What's that?
The original shifted is what the every 6th day is.
Oh,
And
okay.
somewhere along the line, the township changed that, but it was not done by the board of trustees.
Okay,
So they started paying people the $1 bonus for not doing every 6th day or 24-hour shift. If they did a certain number of hours in a week, they got the dollar bonus. And what that has led to, trustees, as I explained in the last meeting, is that you have everyone working Monday through Friday or whatever they do, and then there's nobody to run Saturday, Sunday. And that's not what your taxpayers ask you to
I
do.
understand.
So the shifted idea is, a lot of people have other jobs outside of here. And if they take one shift and we get a paramedic on all 6 shifts, that'll give us 7 paramedics, or 6, and then it'll roll over to, the next 6-day shifts. You'll always have a paramedic on duty. If we can recruit that many paramedics that their schedule fits that, or we'll continue to recruit until we fill all 6
Okay.
spots.
So how are 6 days counted? Once every 6 days, a little easier if it's once every 7th. 1/7. So are you starting and doing calendar days, 1 to 6, 7 to 12, how are you doing the once every 6th day? What is the definition of the 6 days?
What has been since Chief Sexton, this program was used then, is that they pick a Monday, and that would always be their Monday. That 7th day, they didn't have anybody. Anybody that might have signed up for that shift. But it also allows somebody to take an extra shift and do 48 hours, because it's an open situation. I don't have any background of what would be better, 6 or 7. It's just a matter of,
Okay, so once every 6 days, but it goes per the pay cycle then? I misunderstood the difference.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so then, in using template 8, and I'm not gonna get into major details here, but, so I count, there's numerous people that go up and down. I went through here and, +1, -2, their scale. So you have a list of current pay rate and then correct pay rate.
yes,
And it goes up and down. The total difference in the numbers from previous to now with the correct rate is up $18. So,
Per hour.
yeah, so what I wish the chief was here. Do we have enough, are we thinking about enough money in the budget to compensate for an $18 per hour increase in wages?
yes. Both now and both what we project for 2022. Right now, we have over 200,000 left in the salary account. The situation
so then-
now,
okay,
let me
that's
clarify something though, before you go any further. That way, I explain.
Yep.
This shift, it isn't all the changes that were done. There were people that were in the Paycor system, and you'll read my attached email, that didn't have the right pay rate the day they started. Don't know why, we can't go back. We gotta fix it. So some of these rates changed not only because of shifted, but because people were being paid the wrong rate. And that was prior to, this year. Some of those pay changes go, and Tracy mentioned in the last meeting, go back as far as we can find them with existing employees. So this is a combination of changes to fix what record shows in Paycor.
The only thing I see was a problem is, you guys hired these people at a certain salary. Then you get this piece of paper, so if anybody was to go do a trace, it would be all messed up. Because say for instance, let me give you an example, one employee, number 3rd one down, was hired at $12. She just was hired. Resolution 2115, she was hired at 12. We don't have anything that shows why the current pay is 13. So there won't be anybody, somebody was to pick up our records, they will say, well, especially auditors, and say, well, why is she 13 when you hired her in, trustees as a 12? And so it's gonna be confusing, but somebody's gonna be having to explain that.
Well, this is what I suggest that we do if they approve this document tonight, and on the public record. That if they approve this tonight, the fire chief, myself, Tracy, if you could help us or at least guide us, we will put supporting document together for all of this. But when I was talking to the prosecutor about this, we know about it, you guys know about it. As an employer, you gotta fix it right away. But we can do the paperwork and have it ready within 2 weeks or less. We'll have it to support it, so there is an audit trail. There is an audit situation. In that case, what I understand through our investigations is they, whoever had submitted thought that they were an EMT, and so they put the rate in at 12, but she's an advanced EMT. The other problem that I've discovered in the time that I did payroll was we should only have a certain number of classifications in our preset. Tracy knows what I'm talking about. Trustees, what I mean is, if you enter in that this person is a firefighter one, it'll kick a rate automatically.
Understand?
We have multiple descriptions for the same position that's been there for years. They never deleted out the old system or changed it. So this here clarifies what each of those people are. And then Tracy, since you're over payroll, we want to go through that system and make sure that we delete all those others that are no longer applicable. So the system is strictly got the pay raises. Then, after this, I suggest that you trustees and fiscal officer, ourselves, department managers, put together a system and you adopt it before the end of the year or as soon as we can get it done, where there's a change form, as Tracy and I talked about, that anytime an employee is to change, or there's a change in their pay or their description or whatever,
Yeah.
there used to be one used here. And I found that form on
Yeah.
Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to use that. And I don't know where it fell apart because
It's not
because you don't find
You
those-
don't catch any wording anyways, because.
I'm sorry, let me finish. When payroll was being done by the fire department, those forms weren't filled out. So that's where it stopped. So whatever reason, it doesn't matter, it stopped. So we need, but it was never adopted as a policy of how to proceed. Nothing is in our records back at least 5 years ago. No resolution on how to handle anything.
There are some from our previous administrative assistant before Adrian. She left instructions on this, so there are instructions in there.
There's instructions, but they weren't adopted by the board of
No, but there
trustees.
were instructions for the administrative assistant to follow for doing this. And there are personnel action forms in some of the folders. Most of them are in the firefighters folders. So there are personnel action because they were working with Adrian to put those personnel actions. So they are stapled in the back of those folders. When I went through doing some, looking through the file, there's a lot of personnel action forms, but there was so much in those folders. I had no clue what all that stuff was. I was just going and making sure first that we had all our current employees in there. And then I started going through, so I take a stack home and start looking for so many at a time. And I start looking, then some of those do have personnel action forms in them. And I think we should go back to that because this is okay, if you guys are okay with this. But like I said, there's gonna be some gaps where the auditors are gonna come in, they're gonna say, well, how did they get? A resolution says hired as 12, and now you got her as paid 13, and then she got increased to 15. Why 15? For instance, if she was a 12, okay, let's just go through that one. Okay, her current pay is 13, and now the corrected pay rate is 15. What made it go to 15? Because she shifted, but she's already been put in the system with that dollar raise.
No, that's because she was hired before the dollar raise from the
But
trustees.
she was already put into the dollar raise. When I put it in, I have it noted that she was one of the ones that was given the dollar raise. So she shouldn't be 15, she should just be 14.
We'll double
Well,
check.
but I mean, that's what I'm saying. We
Because
need to double
these
check
are as
it.
accurate as 4 of us looking at the records.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So
That's
I'm
what
not
I
gonna
have.
answer that specific
Right.
question.
Well, I'm not saying that we need to verify is what I'm saying here.
Right.
If you approve it, we have to fix the records now for the auditors. Because that's where we're going, no matter what you approve, when the auditors come in, they're gonna find these problems and then you're gonna get dinged for it.
But when I talked to the state auditor earlier this week, they told me exactly the steps we need to take to fix the problem immediately. I verified that with legal, and that's why I've asked, or said that we needed this meeting to fix the problem for the employee, because you owe it to the employee to do
How
it.
did they get a $2 raise?
You got different people that were not being paid the right rate before there was any $1 raise yet this year. There were people in the system prior to the leaving of our administrative assistant that never got the raise you voted in at the first of 2021.
So we're hiring at 12, and now we're making 15. How do we verify $3 more?
Okay, which person you talked about?
Third
No,
one down.
third one down.
Okay, number one, she's an AEMT. She was put into the system as an EMT, and the system kicked out 12. You understand that so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then, so 13 is where she begins. Number two, you gave a raise to all employees. That goes to 14. On top of that, the AEMT is actually classified at 13 to begin with. And EMT is classified at 12. So her rate is 15 today.
Only when she does the shifted work.
Correct. Not only, if somebody has signed a contract to do the shifted, they have to do the shifted, and if they don't, they're brought off of shifted, and the trustees would be brought in front of you to reduce their pay. We can't just arbitrarily do
So the sixth column over, shifted and non-shifted, that does not change, and that stays the way it is. That does not change from week to week, whether we take a 24-hour shift in the 6 days or not. So you do it or you don't do it. It
Right.
stays that way.
it, and we monitor it. Whereas when whoever internally decided to just start paying people for doing 24 hours over a whole week, they took different days, and no one was tracking it.
I want to say something, Steve.
Yeah.
2020, right, is when we should have approved Jefferson Township part-time hourly rate resolution, and we didn't. And in that resolution, it explains what you've been sitting here telling us. It doesn't have AEMT shifted on here. It has a paramedic shifted. Would that be the same thing?
Well, they're A&Es, the T's, and start IDs.
Yeah.
See, that's again the problem that we have in that pay course system is we don't have it cleaned up, if you want to look at it that way.
And the pay course system also, you were saying that if we put it in there, you have to put each of them in there. So I have to find out how we can make it set that if we put AMET. But right now, you have to put AMET and then you have to put a salary with it.
Right.
It's not automatically put it in there.
Before we did this transition, I was just working with Paycor to ask them how can you do what I call a blind increase. Say the trustees do another $1 raise or something down the road. 1 year, I think they did a 3%. There's a way to just put that number in and it'll populate all of them without putting in there. But you're right. Right now, we have to individually put stuff in.
And that's the reason why I requested that we do this now, because I gotta do these each manually until we can get that system set up.
Now,
But I was using, like I said, this wasn't approved, and I was gonna use this, but everything's not on it when I, like the one I chose. There's no AEMT shifted. But I know the difference between shifted and not, so you look at an AMET non-shifted, which starts out at $13. So what I mean, she starts out at 14? I'm just guessing.
yes.
And then she would get the $1 raise. But let me clarify something. This list was based on what I pulled out of Paycor. So that current list, the current pay rate that's listed here is what I pulled out of Paycor. And a lot of these have already got the $1 raise on them. So that's why I chose the third one, because I knew that that particular person already had the $1 increase. And that's when I went back to the resolution and found out she was hired in as by the trustees by as a 12. Maybe whether it was wrong or right, I'm not arguing that. Now, I'm not arguing that. I'm just wanting to make sure we follow the trail and make sure that there's no holes, because, you know, somebody outside don't know what we're sitting here talking about right now. They're gonna pick up our records and they're gonna say, hey, how did this happen? I don't see no paperwork that said this, ding.
Well, that's,
thing.
when I was doing payroll, I was flipping out because I was starting to do an inventory of what's wrong with the system, because I inherited with no instructions, and I started seeing these problems in there. And so how do you correct them until you get your hands around all the problems?
I mean, I could sit here, I could sat there last night and went through every one of them, which actually did go through a lot of them. And, but I got tired of it and I was just, and so you see all this redness, I started doing a lot of them. In fact, I may have gone through all of them. And so I sent an email to, the chief and to Lisa, I don't know which one's working it, but I copied
Lisa was
Lisa
off
on.
today.
And so I copied Lisa on, but I saw her looking at her email, but I didn't know anybody was gonna do it, I didn't believe anybody. But I wanted to say to them, we have that personnel change action form. Eventually, I said, whatever happens at this meeting, you guys are gonna have to fill out a form for each one of these changes. So you may have 4 forms you fill out for each person, and the chief's gonna have to sign it, or whoever you guys, whatever the chain of command. And that's how we're gonna fix the problem. So if we do this now, okay, but there's gonna be a lot of work that's gonna have to be done.
This is just to take care of the worker today in their pocketbook.
And you know, I don't have any problem, if you approve it, now I got a piece of paper that says you approve it, but I want everybody to know that there's gotta be these holes covered up, and it can't
We
be
gotta
left
get together
behind.
as a team
Right.
and develop a policy for everything involving payroll and HR, and then let the trustees vote on it. And once it's a policy, it can go into our handbook, and all employees have to follow it. Right now, that different people have different thoughts, and I think that's where we've led to these problems. Everybody thought they were doing the right thing, but everybody was following their own, hey, they told me they used to do it this way, or they did. I want to resolve that problem and help you,
Yeah.
Tracy,
And I don't
get through this.
I don't have any problem, with this at all. I'm just letting you be aware that I'm trying to keep us compliant.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to do. Whatever you guys decide, that's on you, but I wanna tell you, in order to keep us compliant, in order for anybody to get written up singly or as a group or whatever the case may be, we have to follow procedures to keep the holes out of these things. You know, and, you know.
It's been in our audit too.
Yeah.
Last year and this year, they noted in the management part that you have to do something about the inaccuracies in your payroll system. And so you're starting this tonight if you would at least make a stab at it.
But, okay, so now, seeing this, just to let you trustees know, you see how much work this is for payroll. I still have to do my fiscal officer job too, as far as the bookkeeping, accounting and stuff. Something needs to be done. But anyway, that's another day, another time. So maybe put that note down, that we have to do something to help to get this taken care of, because I'm spending 24 hours. I'm working shifted or whatever. More than shifted. But anyways, I want you to know that. Okay, go ahead and approve this, if that's what you decide to do. But know that there's gonna be holes that the auditor's gonna find, because they are tough on, Adrian hated it when the auditors came in. You know, because they were having to pull all kinds of stuff. I know I'm gonna scream when they come in and start pulling one stuff pulled. Because that's why I'm going through, taking stacks of stuff home and looking at each record as much as I can. Then I found out that everything's not in those folders. I don't know where they are. I don't know where it is. I have no clue.
That's why when the auditor did that last visit, when Adrian had left, I taped that drawer shut because I said, I don't know why there's things not in there, as they were pulling it out and saying, where's this, where's that? I go, I have no clue, because we tried to make sure all those forms are in those files. And that, honestly, trustees and fiscal officer, that's why I suggest that you do increase your services with your paid company, because you'll have accuracy in all your records and you won't have forms missed when somebody is hired or anybody is not able to go in and remove anything because the employee file is held in the cloud. So when somebody signs on to get hired, you're protected as a board of trustees.
Let's call for roll call. Let's call for vote. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion pays.
And passing it down for signature. So this should be able to get me to end our weekend. By the way, I was unable to, use my pay-for because there was some problems, and I spent all day with John Miller.
He told me
We're
tonight
gonna
at
have a
5
big
o'clock.
bill, we're gonna have a big bill for that because it was hours that we went over.
Yeah, he
I
told me.
called UAN, and UAN couldn't do anything, then John, and back and forth.
Well, that's prevented, I mean, your problems were in front of me today, I couldn't do it either, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Real quick, I want to just give something to Tracy, the payroll for the clerk and the administration for payroll period in Saturday.
Motion to adjourn.
Since it's payroll, I'm sorry. And attendance sheet for that last meeting. Sorry,
This-
trustee.
Okay, so I have to wait for fire department.
Yeah, because Lisa was off today.
Okay. All right.
We were adjourned at 6:28.
Thank you, thank you.
Kind of length of meetings we normally have.
So, Mr. Matt, I gave you a, revenue and appropriation sheet, but I have to give you updated one because I wasn't able to give you the most current one because of my problem I had. Finally, about 5 something, I
Okay.
finally got the system backed up, and it took a while too, so I think there's still some problems. But at least the system's backed up for another 30 days, and hopefully by Monday or whenever he talks to Spectrum, he'll see what the issue is.